Sometimes, one verse changes all of history. Sometimes, a single sentence carries the answer to 1,000 years. In the Surah Al-Isra, God says, "O children of Israel, you will spread corruption on earth twice, and you will rise to great arrogance twice. But each time we will send servants against you who will bring you down from that height." Now look, some people think this verse is just about the past. But it's not. The Quran isn't a history book. It's a living book. Every generation finds itself inside those words. And that warning, it's repeating itself right now. It all started with Prophet Moses. God raised him inside Pharaoh's palace, but never let his fire die. He freed his people, the Israelites, from slavery. God promised them a land, but they were afraid. "There are powerful people there," they said. Moses told them, "God is with us." But they replied, "Then you and your Lord go fight. We'll wait here." That one sentence changed their destiny. God said, "Then you will wander in the desert for 40 years. It wasn't just a punishment. It was a transformation. Because sometimes a nation can escape chains, but the soul still stays a slave. That generation passed away, and a new, stronger one rose. Under Joshua, they entered the Promised Land, their first real homeland. Then came King David, a ruler and a prophet. And after him, Solomon, who built an empire unlike anything the world had seen. Every nation spoke about the power of Israel. But then pride took over. And as it always happens, pride turned to corruption. The Israelites forgot who gave them that blessing and started acting like gods themselves. Then God's law moved again. Whoever commits injustice, the judgment will turn against them. King Nebuchadnezzar came from Babylon and destroyed Jerusalem. The temple was burned down. The people were scattered. That was the first downfall. Centuries later, they rose again. They rebuilt their land, but they repeated the same sin. God sent Jesus to guide them, but they rejected him. They tried to kill him. God raised him up and sent the Romans. Rome destroyed Jerusalem again and scattered the Israelites across the world. That was the second downfall. For thousands of years they lived in exile, but deep down they carried one dream: to return and to rule again. Then came the Middle Ages, crusades, inquisitions, persecutions. They were insulted, hunted, and expelled from every land. But every exile taught them something. Power doesn't come from land. It comes from the system. And that's how the seed of Zionism began to grow. In 1711, something shifted in Europe. It looked like a scientific and economic awakening. But behind it, something deeper was forming. The silent entrance of Jewish influence into Europe's systems. And from there, history changed direction. Faith was replaced by money. Worship by power. Jerusalem was still far away, but the banks were opening their doors. The plan was simple but huge, not just to rebuild religion, but to control the entire structure of the world. By the 1860s, that plan took form. Banks, industries, and media, all centralized, all connected. Wealth started flowing into the same few hands. That's exactly what the Quran meant when it said, "I will aid them with wealth and children," because wealth can be both a blessing and a test. Then, in 1897, in the city of Basel, Switzerland, a journalist named Theodor Herzl said, "We will build our own state. If not this year, then within 50 years. And 50 years later, in 1948, the State of Israel was founded. Coincidence? Hardly. God said, "We will give you power again." And just like the verse warned, their second rise came with corruption across the world. From 1948 till now, every war, every massacre, every burned child, it's all part of that second chapter. But it's not just about Israel, it's about a mindset, the same arrogance reborn. Today, corruption spreads not with swords, but through bombs, media, politics, and finance. The system runs on one belief: We don't need God, we are gods. But history always repeats. The Quran says, if you return to corruption, we will return to punishment. Every tyrant's story ends the same way. Pharaoh drowned, Jerusalem burned. And this time, the same law will apply. Now look around. The world can't take it anymore. Even those who once defended Israel are silent now. Even Piers Morgan said, when the IRA attacked civilians in the UK, we didn't bomb Belfast. Truth has become too big to hide. And remember this law. Injustice doesn't end when it stays steady. It ends when it grows too large to stand. We're reaching that point. Everyone will have to choose a side now, oppressor or oppressed, truth or silence. Because this isn't politics anymore, it's faith. The state founded in 1948 wasn't the beginning. It was the final act of a centuries-old plan. If you don't understand 1711, 1860, or 1897, you'll never understand today. They're all chapters of the same story. In the 18th century, Jews learned how to control systems without showing their faces. Not through religion, through power. Not through faith, through money. They realized they didn't have to deny God to act like gods. They just needed control. And control came through the banks. By the mid-1800s, they were inside every artery of Europe's economy. The Industrial Revolution began, but few asked, who owns the factories? Who controls the money? By 1860, the entire foundation of the world economy was in their hands. And so the prophecy continued. I will support them with wealth and children. That wealth was their test, because money raises a nation and destroys it too. By the late 1800s, their plans stepped into daylight. Herzl's dream became Zionism. It wasn't just a political movement, it was a belief system. We are God's chosen heirs. The promised land is ours. But promised land was only a cover. The real goal was control of the entire Middle East, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and southern Turkey, the full Greater Israel Project. 2 world wars cleared their path. The first destroyed the Ottoman Empire. The second made Jews the victims of history. That victimhood became their global shield, the emotional card that justified 1948. The world said, they've suffered enough. Let them have a homeland. And from that moment, corruption began again. Palestinians were driven from their homes. Thousands were killed. Villages burned. That pain hasn't stopped since. And why is the world silent? Because the people who control the money also control the decisions. If you control a country's economy, media, and politics, you control the country. That's what the higher power really means. That power isn't Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It's satanic. Because their goal isn't to destroy religion, but to use it, to turn faith into a tool of power. As the Quran says, lead them astray if you can, but my true servants you will never overcome. Today, look how it works. Behind corporations are banks, behind banks are funds, and behind those funds, families no one even knows by name. They hold the money, the media, the politics, the weapons, and the internet, all in one hand. It's the modern palace of Pharaoh. Once they drowned children in the Nile, now they bomb them in Gaza. Once they used whips, now they use sanctions. And again, God's words echo, if you return, we will return. The same corruption, the same arrogance, the same bloodshed. But this time, the world is watching. This time, people are awake. Every phone, every screen is a witness. Even they know their time is running out. That's why they're so desperate, so violent, because deep down, they know their end is near. This is the new Babylon plan. And just like the first Babylon, this one will fall too. Because this isn't politics, this is divine law. No injustice lasts forever. God's justice doesn't rush, but it never fails. The world is dividing again. On one side, truth. On the other, greed. One side, compassion. The other, cruelty. And the time to choose has come. Those who stand with oppressors will share their fate. Those who stand with the oppressed will see God's justice rise. The Quran says, "If you do good, it is for yourselves. If you do evil, it is against yourselves. And when you commit corruption the second time, we will send our servants against you. Maybe those servants won't carry guns this time. Maybe they're people with cameras, with words, with truth. Because today's battlefield is information and conscience. One side spends billions on lies. The other side has one video, one burned child, and it shakes the world. That's how truth wins. Now even Israel's leaders tremble, not from rockets, but from the prayers of children and the tears of mothers. Because they know justice is coming. Over 15,000 children killed, more than 35,000 martyrs, 80,000 wounded, an entire generation buried. And they still say, we're defending ourselves. But God hears the cries of the innocent. When he delays, it's only so that the final reckoning is heavier. The Quran says, I do not delay punishment for the oppressors. I only give them time to increase their sin. That's what's happening now. They think they're winning, but they're only digging their own grave. The more they destroy, the closer their collapse. Even their own supporters are going silent. And what will happen next? The Quran already told us. If you corrupt again, we will return again, and we will send our servants to destroy your cities. This isn't the past. It's a prophecy. The third act is coming, and it will bring divine justice, not through empires like Rome or Babylon, but through ordinary people, those who still have hearts that feel, tongues that speak truth, and hands that act with faith. Because God's servants aren't just soldiers. They are the protectors of justice. And here lies the secret of Surah Al-Isra. No matter how big injustice grows, the light of truth never fades. Pharaoh drowned, empires fell, and this too will fall. Because God's law never changes. Injustice sinks, truth rises. One day soon, in our lifetime, Palestinian children will laugh in the parks again. Mothers will open their doors without fear. And the whole world will finally understand. God promised, and God always keeps his promise. This is my promise. I never break my word.